So in this first project, the idea is to extract the price data of different stocks using Yahoo Finance library. Yahoo Finance provides a library within Python that gives you access to the current and historical prices of different stocks and companies. So the idea of this project is that we're going to use the Yahoo Finance library in Python to extract the data for different stocks for the past 5 years. And then we will use that data to plot a graph showing us how the price has changed over the years for those stocks. So to start with, the first thing I need to do is extract the data for one stock from Yahoo Finance and store it as a data in a table in my Python spreadsheet. So how do I do that? The first thing I ask the model to do is, let's extract the daily stock price data using Python from Yahoo Finance library for Apple, and this is the stock ticker for Apple that I got from Yahoo Finance for 5 years stock price. Okay, so GPT wrote the code for me. First thing it did was it imported the library. Then it said, okay, the ticker is AAPL. Although I spelled it incorrectly, it was smart enough to understand I'm referring to the Apple ticker. Then it defined a start date and an end date based on the time horizon I set 5 years. So it's defining the dates based on today and going back 5 years. Get the data, then it creates this data function using the Yahoo Finance library. So it goes to Yahoo Finance and download the ticker, which is Apple, the start date, which is 2018 20th May, and end date, which is today 20th May 2023. If I run this code, I copy paste this code and I will run it here, and this will give me my stock price data for Apple for different dates. Now, if I remove this print command, this will become better formatted and I can view the entire data set in one row. So here you go. So here's your date. Here is the opening price for the day, the highest price for the day, the lowest price for the day, the closing price, the adjusted close price, and the volume. And it starts from 2018 0521 and goes all the way to 2023 0519. These three dots that you see in the middle means there are rows in the middle that are not being shown, and it's showing just a snapshot of the first few and the last few rows. There are total almost 1300 rows. 5 years of data. Each data set will have, each year will have around 250 260 points on one for each business day. So that adds up to around 1250 business points for 5 years. What's next? So now we have the data. Now let's try and figure out what are the columns in this data set. So let's say these are the columns in our data set, right? I want to figure out what these columns are from the code. So write me the code to find all the columns in df is equal to data. Why did I say df is equal to data? Because the name of this data frame that we have stored is called data. So I'm saying in this data frame called data, what are all the columns? And it did a couple of things and it gave me this code. Column names is equal to data dot columns. And this will give me all the columns in my data set. So that's what I ran next. Column underscore names is equal to data dot column dot values, print column names. So when I run it, I get all my columns here: open, high, low, close, adjusted close, and volume, which is exactly the same as here. So now what do we want to do? We don't want to plot all of these columns against the time. We want to use one of these. So let's say we're going to rely on close. So this is the closing price at around 4:35 p.m. when the stock market closed. This was the price on that day on this specific date. So let's use the close column and the date column to plot a time series of Apple stock price. So that's what I would have asked it next. Let's use the column close to plot a time series of the price, and that's all I needed to do, and it understood the job and it gave me the code to plot it. Now what is it doing? It gets the close price from data, the data frame that we're working with. See, this is called data here. Where did it go? Here. So the data frame is called data, and then we're specifically referring to the close column in the data frame. Now close price, which is this new variable, equal to data close, plotted with a figure size of 10 by 6. And then the title of the plot is Apple stock price, the X label is date, the Y label is price, and plot.show will just show us the plot. So let's copy this and paste this here, and we have the Apple stock price data. in a visual format plotted for us. The price started around 45.50 in 2018, I believe, and then now it has gone all the way up to $180, a massive increase of 4x almost in 5 years. Now if I want, I can change it to any different stock that I want. All I need to do is go up here and change the stock name. So let's say if I want to do Tesla, I loaded the data for Tesla. These are the columns for Tesla, and this is the stock price for Tesla now. So it starts from a low of 25, goes all the way to 400, and now it's back at 200. This name is wrong. I should call it Tesla now. So all I did was I changed the plot title here to Tesla, and I changed the ticker name to Tesla here. Now let's try plot both Tesla and Apple together on the same graph. So the next thing I did was I said, let's add the Tesla stock price as well. Oh, actually, I ran into an error when I loaded the first time, and it gave me an error saying name PLT is not defined, and that is because a specific library was missing that I added later. So if you receive an error like this, name PLT is not defined, it's because you haven't imported the matplotlib library. That's why it gave you that error. So make sure that you have that added. On the other hand, if you run into any errors while you're writing code, just copy paste the error into one of the large language models. GPT-4 will do the best job, but I'm trying to do this with Bard to show you that Bard is also capable of doing a good job when it comes to writing code. But GPT-4 is honestly better. I'll do the next project in GPT-4. So just copy paste the error into the large language model, and it will tell you if it will debug the code for you and tell you what needs to be done next to make sure that the code works. So a very helpful tip when we're working with the models. Now I said let's add Tesla stock price as well on the same graph. So now we should have two test prices, right? Apple and Tesla. So let me go back and update the code first back to Apple so that there is no confusion here. So you're back with our Apple, and this is where I added the matplotlib line to make it work. This is still Apple. Okay. So now let's copy the code that it gave us. So now what it did was it said Tesla underscore data is, again, it went to the Yahoo Finance library, download the data for Tesla from start to end date. It got the close price from that table now of Tesla data, and then it marked the line color as red, and this is the figure and size. The close price dot plot color is blue. Plot title is Apple and Tesla stock price. X label is date. So blue will be Apple and red will be Tesla now. So let's copy this one, and I will paste this here, and I should see two lines on my graph now. Great. So now you see the red one is Tesla. Yeah, it went to $400, and the blue one is Apple. So although Apple's return looked great when we saw it alone, when we added Tesla onto the graph, this is nothing compared to the Tesla, which went from 25 to almost $400 at the peak of the COVID, and then now it's back at 200, still trading at a very high multiple. So if I want, I can further manipulate them to add more stuff. Let's say I copy the code here, whatever the code I have. And another way of just working with the models, I'm going to reset the chat so it has no information. Can you please add legend in this code as well? So I want the graph to tell me that the red line belongs to Tesla and blue line belongs to Apple. There is no way for us to know which line belongs to which stock right now by looking at the graph. So let's see what the model says when I ask it to add a legend. Sure, so it must have added a few lines for legend. Here, add a legend, Tesla, Apple, upper right. So it's going to create on the upper right section, it will add a legend box. Now, okay, so now you have a legend box added here on the top, right top, red for Tesla and Apple for blue. Awesome, great. This is exactly what we wanted. Can we move the legend outside the graph? So now what I'm asking Bard to do is to move this legend box that it created to outside the graph somewhere here. So just another prompt to play around with. I can do it definitely by coding, but honestly I don't know how to code this, on how to take this out of the box, but probably Bard would know and it can help me out do that. So let's see how it did it. This will create a plot of the legend located in the bottom right corner of the graph. Let's see. Yeah, so it went outside. So how did it do that? BB box to anchor. So this is the part it added in the code, right? So now I can go back to Bard and ask it to explain me what it's doing here. Okay, so BB box to anchor argument legend makes a tuple for 4 values with specific x and y coordinates with the height and legend. In the case of the box 1 1, the legend will be anchored to the bottom right corner of the axis with the width and height. Okay, upper right, the legend box is anchored on the upper right corner, upper left, lower left. Okay, so this is how this function works. If you want to further change around with the positions, you can learn more about the function or play around with it. So if I just change 1 to 2, it should do something. So it went all the way there. So what if I do 0.5? It should move to the left. Actually 0.5. Yeah, so it came here. So yeah, so if I do 0, I believe it will move completely to the left side. Yeah, so in this way, and I can manipulate this too. I can make this 0 and now I expect it to go down somewhere. Yeah. What if I do -1? Would it work? Yeah, so it went all the way down because this is 0 mark, this is 1, so it went all the way down to -1. So in this way, a very powerful way to learn coding. And if you're new to coding, or even if you do know how to code, you can exponentially increase the power with which you can code by using these large language models now. So just wanted to give you a quick preview on how good ChatGPT and Bard could be when it comes to data analysis. In the next lecture, we're going to create a web application that can help us do a word count, a simple word count.